My first love from when I was younger, who was wrongly rumored, came back to town. People around kept messaging me, asking if I wanted to meet up. I was just about to text back and clarify when the hand around my waist tightened. First love? I heard a gritting teeth voice in my ear. I knew it. You've been keeping other dogs outside. After dating Henry for 6 months, I finally learned that there are people this petty and hard to please in the world. He'd get all sulky at the slightest thing that didn't go his way. But that face of his is just ridiculously handsome. So, I decided to put up with him for another 3 months. Flashing back to 6 months ago, the very first time I met Henry. He was invited to my school to share his experiences as an outstanding young entrepreneur. I was just a college student hoping to sneak out after earning some extra credit. We weren't supposed to have any interaction. But just as I attempted to sneak out, Henry stepped on stage. Broad shoulders, narrow waist. The light blue shirt framed his muscles just right. His silver-rimmed glasses glinted coldly under the spotlight. He easily captured all of my attention. Yeah, also made me stop in my tracks. A guy this outrageously handsome really does exist? That was my first thought. If I don't get close to this Henry, I'll regret it forever. That was my second thought. I tend to act quicker than I think. So, by the time it hit me, I was already blocking Henry backstage. Do you need something? Henry slightly furrowed his brow. I think he found my move a little sudden. Maybe his outstanding look often puts him in such positions. He probably thought I was just another random fan trying to flirt. I was momentarily speechless. I'd only focused on finding him, not thinking up an excuse. Henry looked at me not speaking and was just about to walk around me. Wait, senior. I'm the leader of a startup team. Panicking, I quickly grabbed his hand and started making stuff up. Our team has already reached a decent size. You've always been our role model. Could I get your contact information? Henry paused. We really need guidance like yours. You must know how lost students are at first when starting up. Lacking guidance. A subtle laugh came from above me. I looked up, meeting Henry's slightly mocking but cool gaze. What makes you think I'd randomly give a student advice? What? I stared wide-eyed in shock. Wasn't he supposed to show a friendly side about now? He flat out just rejected me. The next second, Henry expressionlessly pulled his hand away and left, leaving me standing there feeling like I got struck by lightning. Seriously, not playing by the rules here. I watched Henry's retreating back in disbelief. But I couldn't just let this chance slip by. Once he's gone, how am I finding someone this top-notch again? His cold attitude only showed me he's got self-control, worth pursuing. I mentally encouraged myself and continued following him. Senior, I know your company excels in AI. Our team is in AI too. We recently got some funding, for instance, our new product prompt. I wasn't making this part up. I've got a buddy starting a business, and I listened to him practice a pitch the night before. What I said came from him. Sure enough, Henry stopped. I've only got 5 minutes. Quickly tell me about your team's business. I immediately rephrased my friend's pitch for Henry. Then managed to secure a chance to meet him weekly at his company. During that time, I made the most of being nearby to get closer to Henry. Unfortunately, he was like ice, strictly business-focused. He harshly criticized my various pitches too. Gosh, I just wanted a beautiful romance, not face English codes. His depth of knowledge was way beyond what little I learned from my friend each week. Likely, not even scratching the surface for him. This kind of level got funding? He once muttered behind my back, which I overheard. At that moment, I felt insulted, ready to give up, but looking back at his face, I felt I could stick it out longer. Things turned around when I became acquainted with a young developer at Henry's company. He not only understood the business but could also attend internal meetings, helping me understand Henry's business moves. This preparedness made my reports flow much better and allowed me to barely keep up with Henry's inquiries. Until one day, as I squatted beside a desk with the developer, rehearsing a pitch, the back of my shirt was suddenly grabbed. "Nick, stop fooling around." I assumed the developer was messing with me, continuing to take notes. "Time's short, I need to report soon." But the grip didn't loosen, and Nick didn't respond. Chills ran down my spine as I looked up, meeting Henry's stern face. "I wondered why you suddenly improved." Henry, slightly angry, pulled me up and into his office. I'm doomed. Surely the always straightforward Henry would never let me come back now. Once the office door closed, I swiftly apologized. "Henry, I'm sorry, my bad, don't make me leave." "Do you know what you did wrong?" Henry's voice was hoarse with anger. "I shouldn't have gotten clever, asking people for hints. I was just afraid you'd think I was dumb, so I practiced with him first." Henry sat behind his desk, furious. "What else? What else?" I bit my lower lip, thinking quickly, and I should have studied on my own instead of trying shortcuts. I rambled 5 or 6 reasons, yet Henry looked even more displeased. "You seriously don't think randomly chatting up people isn't wrong?" He suddenly interjected, still within my view. I didn't catch his drift. Was he worried I'd poach someone? "I can't even offer them a competitive salary." "Sandy, do you treat everyone like this, chatting up effortlessly?" I didn't get what he was thinking, but quickly admitted, No, I won't anymore. It was just too difficult this time, so I asked for help. I have no intention of anything with him. Rest assured, I wouldn't dare poach anyone." Henry's face finally softened a bit, hands out. As soon as I reached out, he held onto my fingertips and lightly tapped a pen on them. "Learn a lesson here. And come to me if you have questions, anytime. I'm tough on you not to be harsh, but to help you grow faster." I let out a sound, but my mind was fixed on the cold touch when he held my fingertips and the tingling sensation in my palm made me curl my fingers. "So, tell me how you feel about everything now?" I asked. So cold, I blurted out, wanting to touch more. Surprised, I looked up at Henry, who seemed just as surprised. "Wait, I can pursue you?" I asked. "Yeah, you can pursue me." Henry's face turned slightly red, and he looked away. I silently swallowed back what I wanted to say. I thought things would become easier after breaking the ice. But I was wrong, things got harder. Before, I only had to handle work-related issues with him. Now, I have to deal with him saying, "You're not serious about pursuing me." What part of this isn't serious? I looked at him. "I've done everything to get close to you." Henry lifted his eyes coldly. "You still don't know what I like to eat or what I enjoy doing." "I'm trying to learn," I said. "Then tell me what I like." He tapped the armrest. "You like to say one thing and mean another. For example, you wanted to accept my pursuit all along." I propped my hands on his chair and leaned in close. The next second, I kissed him softly. Soft lips, different from his cold demeanor, warm and inviting. I admit I took a gamble. If he didn't like it, he could push me away. "If you don't like it, push me away," I said, trying to sound calm even though my palms were sweaty. From what I've seen, Henry tends to retreat emotionally, so to pursue him, I can't give him an escape route. Otherwise, he'd pull back into his shell. I knew there was a risk that he might get mad and never want to see me again. But I love taking risks. If I hadn't been bold enough to ask for his contact info backstage when we first met, this wouldn't be happening. I believe you have to take responsibility if you want results. Just waiting around never works. Henry froze for a moment, breathing a bit heavily, but he didn't push me away or embrace me, just held tightly onto the chair. A few moments later, he gently pushed me back. He took a deep breath and said, "We agree to your pursuit now, so you have to be responsible for me." Henry's whole vibe seemed to change. The aloof barrier he used to have started to melt away, revealing a softer side. "Sandy, you have to be responsible for me," he repeated, sounding more serious this time. "If you abandon me, you'll regret it," he muttered, not sure whether he was telling me or himself. Before I could react, he wrapped an arm around my waist, pulling me into his lap, deepening the kiss. It was clumsy, innocent, and intense, making my lips a little sore. Honestly, it was probably both our first kisses, feeling our way through it like wild, untamed animals in the forest until we figured it out. See, happiness comes from going for what you want. After dating, Henry was a completely different person. Cold and distant to others, still maintaining that unapproachable aura. But with me, he was sweet, clingy, and indulgent. Even when discussing work, he was more patient and gentle. If I didn't get it, instead of sighing in frustration, he'd mutter with a laugh, "Am I really that bad at explaining things?" It was different from what Nick told me, how, during the day at work, Henry would throw reports in the trash if they didn't meet his standards and ask if someone bought their degree. I understood, as a genius who skipped grades, Henry found it hard to grasp why people couldn't see what was obvious to him. So, him not criticizing me was a miracle. When I told my friend Lily about this, she rolled her eyes and asked if I enjoyed being mistreated. She had no idea what life was like before I was in a relationship. "Don't run around barefoot, you'll catch a cold." Henry's voice snapped me back to reality. I lay lazily on the couch as he slipped a sock on my foot, tying the laces into a bow. "Got it," I replied casually, too exhausted from fooling around with him to do much more. If I didn't have class in the afternoon, I wouldn't get up at all. "Be serious," he tapped my head, pulling me up. "I'll drive you to class." Walking to class, Henry held my hand, and I playfully tickled his palm with my pinky. "Stop that," he said with a hint of exasperation, his ears turning red. "Henry, has anyone ever told you you're clingy?" I asked, leaning on him as we walked. "The apartment's right by campus, you didn't need to walk me over." I swear I saw him stiffen a bit, his voice sounding a bit unsure. "You think I'm a bother?" "A bother? Why would I think that?" I was confused. "I think it's sweet, I like you walking with me." "Don't couples in love act this way?" Henry has this strange air about him. He wants to be close, yet sometimes there's this invisible string keeping us apart. His affection is mixed with restraint. But whenever I notice, his tenderness quickly diverts my attention. After class, Henry picked me up like always. We passed by a lot of friends from clubs and events along the way. I cheerfully greeted everyone. How could I not when I had such a handsome guy by my side? Returning home, I noticed something different underfoot. Looking down, I saw a new soft, plush carpet. Its texture tickled my feet. Just as I turned to ask Henry about it, he planted a heated kiss. His hands on my waist, the kiss was gentle yet urgent. I tiptoed up to meet him, clutching his shirt. Not sure how long passed, but when I woke up on the bed, nightfall had come, and Henry wasn't beside me. Barefoot, I headed to the kitchen, where I found him in an apron cooking. "What's for dinner?" I leaned on the doorframe. "And why'd we get a new carpet?" "It's gonna be a hassle for the cleaning folks." Henry looked at my feet, and I knew what he was thinking. Clearing my throat, "It's not like I forgot shoes on purpose." He turned back to cooking, saying nothing. That eerie silence lasted until dinner. Honestly, something felt off when he kissed me as soon as he got home. He still wasn't talking. Normally, he might not say much, but he'd at least join in whatever I was talking about. Totally unlike him to be such a walking silent icebox. "Is there something wrong at the company?" "The company's fine." "Did an employee tick you off?" "That's routine." "Then what's up?" Henry looked down, staying silent. I reached out to touch him. He let me fuss over him, even used chopsticks to get me my favorite dish, but still stayed silent. Quietly helped me wipe my mouth, quietly cleaned up the table, quietly washed the dishes, quietly did everything. Oh, he spoke in the shower, said just one thing, "Wait, I'll shower with you." And then he was quiet again. I was left in the dark, so I cluelessly fell asleep. Middle of the night, I was woken by soft sobbing sounds. Who the heck was crying at this hour? Then I noticed my shoulder felt wet and chilly. Did the roof leak and soak my collar? While thinking about it, another cold tear rolled down my neck. Now I got it, Henry was crying. Why was he secretly crying? Was there a problem with the company he didn't want to share? We have a listed company too, we could help him. With that thought, I moved slightly, stirring Henry's arm around my waist. It startled him. I turned to him, asking seriously, "What's up, Henry? You said we're partners, and partners face difficulties together." In the darkness, his eyes slightly brightened but dimmed just as quick, softly sobbing, "This isn't something you can help me with." Whatever could worry Henry this much must be serious. I started silently calculating how much cash I could mobilize tonight. Looks like my little saving stash would have to come to the rescue for Henry. Even though that's what I was thinking, I kept my cool to make sure Henry calmed down and would tell me what it was all about. Henry's eyelashes were soaked with tears, clumped together. He buried his head in the crook of my neck, holding onto me tight. "Sandy, Sandy." His voice gradually getting softer and shakier. "If I tell you, you won't like me anymore." "No, I'll always like you, no matter what. Liking someone means liking all of them." I gently patted his back, feeling hurt seeing him so worried and insecure. Henry paused a bit, then finally, as if mustering huge courage, said, "You have so many friends." "That's it?" "That's it." Henry sat up, putting on his usual calm and poised demeanor but still accused, "And you smile at them, go out with them. It's not fair. I don't have as many friends as you do, and all the leftover time I want to spend with you, but you share your non-study time with friends first." Huh. I had just breathed a sigh of relief. My savings were safe, but a barrage of questions left me dizzy. I cautiously suggested, "You could make some friends too." "But I don't want extra friends, I just want to be with you." Henry shot me an annoyed glance, as if I'd committed some great offense. I sat up too, switching on the bedside lamp. "Tell me, would you also toss me aside if you happened to find someone you like while talking to others, the way you chatted me up back then?" Henry spoke with righteous fury, getting more upset. He looked as if he'd busted me flirting with someone else on the spot. "No way, I'm not great at social stuff either." I tugged on his sleeve, sheepishly trying to explain. Henry threw a sidelong glance, snorted slightly, like a teasingly sinister ghost lurking in the dark. "Not good at it? Not good at adding almost everyone from my office when you come by for a few days, not good at holding those mini lessons for you with my senior researchers. Not good at nearly filling up your schedule for the next month today alone? Going to hang with Howard for a band session, with Mike for research, and having other meetings lined up for the following days. Is it only when you know everyone in the city that you'll consider yourself good at it?" Guiltily, I licked my lips and kept silent. Honestly, I probably know 2/3 of the people. Pollyanna of friends should open more doors, right? How else could I spontaneously walk into the city's most central restaurant and get a table, or quickly nab past exam hotspots during finals week? But I didn't dare say these out loud while he was upset. I nodded, appeasingly muttering, "Lots of friends, only one boyfriend, and that's you." "I do love you." But Henry still seemed a bit angry. I sat beside him all humble-like, feeling like our roles were reversed. After several rounds of back and forth, I finally had to agree to more frequent updates and earlier curfews. Drastic yet face-saving conditions for the slightly relieved smile on his face. And if there are other guys at a meet-up, I'd have to bring him along. Oh man, if my girlfriends knew, they'd totally call me out for being too controlled. Really? A curfew because a big strong woman is stepping outside? Lucky for me, we're not at the same school. She's busy with her own romance and novel writing in another campus. Babe, would this make you find me annoying or hate me? Henry must have noticed my slight disappointment and subtly, cheekily loosened his collar, flaunting those toned abs again. He pressed my hand against his chest. "Feel this." My heart was racing with anxiety just now. I originally didn't want to pay him heed, to show I do have my own principles, but without thinking my hand moved, squeezing just enough to feel that firmness. That's nothing. Didn't even need to ask. In a relationship, curfews and boundaries should be the norm. I wiped away my drool just in time, turning to reassure him eagerly. So, can I keep feeling down? Henry slightly nodded, that understated smirk growing as I resumed my exploration. Wait, why did this feel like a trap? The moment of realization quickly passed as Henry's moves led me away again. In the coming days, I basically reverted to a high schooler schedule, never more regular and never felt daily activities this healthy and wholesome. Henry practically shadowed me 24/7 to stake his claim. Especially after some dude tried chatting me up in a cafe I barely visited a couple of times. Most servers there were just college kids doing part-time. I just ordered coffee when this server brought over a little cake. I was gonna ask if it was a mistake when his eyes lit up asking, "Do you have a boyfriend?" Honestly, I froze, heart skipping a beat, not because of the question, but 'cause Henry appeared right behind him. I bet he heard everything. Yes, Henry said, claiming, "She has a boyfriend, and she chased me first." Henry sat down next to me with a blank expression on his face. Even though he spoke in his usual tone, I couldn't help but shiver. That college student awkwardly blushed and mumbled something before leaving. I glanced at his face, cautiously pushing the cake towards him. Some sweets might lift your spirits. Henry looked at me and gave a gentle smile. And my mood was off. Plus, this was meant for you. Great, I knew I was in trouble. This difficult-to-please guy was about to be a handful. I ended up sweet-talking him from the evening until the middle of the night, leaving me with a sore back and just a nibble on my arm from Henry, who said, "We'll settle this tomorrow." No way. But you said you'd stop being mad if I did all those things. Henry caught my frustrated glare and asked sincerely, "Still got energy?" I shot him a look and buried myself under the covers. Seriously, who invented these jealous types? He's being totally unreasonable. You know what I mean? It's like taking on the responsibility of a parent. Forget it. You'll understand next time when I can't go out because of him. I can't take it anymore. Just 3 more months. And yes, I've already got a plan. You know I think things through before making a move. Don't worry, I'll secretly find a better option. Meanwhile, don't let him find out. You keep it under wraps too, alright? I was venting on the balcony with my best friend on the phone, completely unaware of the glimpse of a shirt at the door. Hold on a sec. Let me check on Henry to make sure he didn't overhear. Don't want to mess up my plan. I'll talk to you in a bit. I hung up and went to look for him. I found Henry still in the kitchen, and I breathed a little easier. But feeling a bit guilty from the phone call, I approached him just to chat about nothing in particular. I barely got close when I noticed he had his head down, eyes red, and was gripping the spatula tightly. Before I could ask, Henry mumbled, "Cutting peppers, got some in my eyes." I quickly grabbed a few tissues to wipe his eyes and blew gently, watching as he started to feel better. Afterward, I said, "After dinner, I'm stepping out. Just meeting a friend for a bit. You can chill at home." But something I said upset him because Henry's face darkened, and he nearly demolished the peppers in the pan. Seriously? You think that'll look better? I leaned over to peek at the jeweler's phone. Picking the right engagement ring was important since Henry's quite particular. He's always so jealous. Bella says that's because he has no security, and a formal commitment might fix that. She writes novels, so I trust her advice. After checking several designs, I wasn't that satisfied and decided I'd travel to a boutique in Toronto to see for myself. I've got 3 months, plenty of time to get everything just right. For secrecy and ease, I arranged to meet at a private dining spot. But just as I stepped out of the room, there was Henry around the corner. "You?" I began, but he pulled me into a hug. Looking the 40-something top salesman I exited with up and down, Henry raised an eyebrow. "New taste?" Confused, I looked at him. No, I'm just shopping a bit. This seller was recommended by a friend. Henry seemed relieved. Nothing suitable here. I'll be heading to Toronto soon. I can't hide the trip from him, but leaving out certain details might work. Satisfied with his deep breath for some reason, Henry asked, "Into that kind of thing now?" "What kind of thing?" "You're weird." I poked him, and he grabbed my hand. "Sandy, you promised to take responsibility for me." "Yeah, and? If I'm off on something, just tell me. I'll change. Just don't leave without a word." "Relax. I'm not that kind of person. Besides, tonight you're awfully chatty." Back then, worried Henry might catch on about Toronto, I didn't hear his whisper of liar. If I had, all the following mishaps could have been avoided. Later, Henry seemed a little off. Sometimes clinging, other times muttering about giving me space. Frightened, I double-checked his stock status. I'm good to him, accommodating his needs. If something's wrong, it must be work-related. But the company seemed stable. Nick said everything's booming, including a new project they landed. Having no other leads, I decided against traveling alone. So I opted for a remote choice, with Howard, my old pal, bringing it over. Oh, right, Howard's my childhood bestie turned entrepreneur, just swinging by home on vacation. I helped him get that first break when everyone doubted his startup. At night, after Henry fell asleep, I popped into my high school chat group. They were teasing me yet again about some first love back in town, urging a reunion. I've explained countless times, Howard and I share a platonic connection. Plus, he's first love? A voice growled, envious and suspicious. I froze, turning to find Henry's blazing, hurtful gaze. "Hang on, honey. Listen, it's a joke they're making. Howard and I?" "No way, because he's..." Henry cut me off with an icy smirk. "Gonna say he's your first childhood buds? If there was something, he'd have made a move before me." Honestly, where does Henry get these ideas? He's exhausting. He's gay. I shouted, "He's gay." This shut Henry up, and I decided the next day they'd meet in person to see my friendship with Howard was pure as gold. But Howard, being cool, showed up at the party late, so we sat waiting and listening to others chat. "That's your guy? What about Howard?" A classmate probed. "No way. Are you taunting Howard for leaving without a word? Wasn't your high school match the talk of the town?" Another chimed in. Henry, who finally cooled yesterday, was radiating ice. Quickly, I held his hand and clarified, "It's all gossip. Howard and I were just neighbors, and that's it." "You sure?" "Heard when Howard's cards got blocked, you gave him a house and car, funded his early ventures." The way they put it made me think they hoped to watch me spiral into a melodrama. "What company?" Henry asked his first question of the night. The air went so quiet, my heart skipped. Oh, I forgot to mention, Howard's venture is what I've been briefing him about." "Wait up. Let me talk to you first." "Huh? You didn't know?" Q was kind of famous before. Before I could even explain, a quick-tongued classmate blurted out the answer. "Great. Why didn't you jump in like that during class before?" In that moment, Henry's eyes flashed with shock, suspicion, pain, and determination. He turned to me, his slightly open mouth trembling. "You not only have other dogs but also use me to guide them?" In a blink of an eye, the door to the booth swung open. Howard, in full formal attire, with thick eyebrows, big eyes, and exuding manliness, walked in. He successfully hit the climax of this drama. I couldn't help but facepalm and laugh. "If you want to surprise me, just say it. No need for all this drama. Sandy, I'm back. Did you miss me?" Howard walked up with a bright smile and his manliness has never been stronger. "You're really straight when you shouldn't be, and when you shouldn't be straight, can't you ease up a bit? What's with that voice? It made me feel unsafe. Henry's hand tightened and loosened, and finally, he couldn't stand it anymore. He stood up and grabbed me. "Is this the G you mentioned?" Before he could finish, a sharp bang echoed beside us. I didn't have time to react. A fist landed on my shoulder. "You're so mean, Sandy. You should have told me such a handsome guy is coming. I didn't even put on makeup." Looking at the twisting, squeaky-voiced Howard, I almost burst into tears. My innocence is restored. You've finally come to your senses, but just a side note, he's your future brother-in-law. No need for makeup. Don't scare me with your straight man act anymore, or I'll think you've been overseas for years on medication. Howard paused for a moment, rolled his eyes, and handed me a gift bag straight away. Might as well enjoy the good stuff. You better compensate me. Also, find me a handsome guy to date. After the dinner, Henry and I walked slowly along the riverbank, holding hands, as the screen on the tall building across changed continuously. "Sandy, I've been reflecting lately." Henry was saying some gibberish that I didn't really listen to. I just kept thinking about the best place to propose. I looked around, trying to find the best angle, so hidden Howard and Bella could snap the picture of our lifetime. Though I had arranged with Bella to buy the big screen across the river and set up a fireworks show, at the last minute, it was called off. Apparently, their CEO had other plans, so they couldn't sell it tonight. They paid a hefty penalty for breach of contract, but it was a bit disappointing. "So, Sandy, will you accept me?" As the fireworks began to blossom by the river, Henry whispered softly in my ear, then knelt on one knee, ring in hand. In the corner, came the excited screeches of someone monkeyish, while Bella wrapped an arm around Howard to muffle his excited cries. "Quiet down, or I'll punch you if you ruin my sister's moment." On the river screen, some casual background images were playing, and I heard a thunderous sound from the nearby crowd. Looking down, I met Henry's earnest, sincere gaze and the dazzling ring blinding me. There was no way I could refuse. My hands would say, "I do," before my mouth could. Epilogue: My dad always taught me, women don't cherish men who are too easy to get. Gotta reel them in with seduction. I'm quite adept at this part. So, during a lecture back on campus, I noticed a student trying to secretly slip out. My looks caught her, and she stared, stunned. Secretly, a pixel-wide smile crept onto the corner of my mouth. I subtly unbuttoned the top button, not too much, didn't want others to notice, but wanted her to see. First rule in being a good guy, only she can admire the fine physique. After the lecture, I made sure to clear others away to give her the perfect chance to approach me. Second rule in being a good guy, hold on to your dignity. So, when she made the first move, I pretentiously turned her down. She must realize I'm someone with self-discipline, not just anyone can approach me. Wait, why is she walking so fast? She can't catch up. Shoot, if I reject her the first time and she gives up, how am I supposed to play hard to get then? Silly boy, any girl who gives up easily either has a wide net or you're not the one for her. Finding the right one isn't easy. My dad's voice echoed in my mind. No. I really like her. Ever since I saw her photo from an award ceremony I sponsored, with the school's help. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come back to attend this lecture just in case she was around. I didn't need extra credits anyway. Whatever, what did she say about a startup? I'll have my secretary tell the school leadership I want to start a school enterprise collaboration. I'll personally guide it. Create opportunities if there aren't any. Thank goodness, she finally caught up. She's chattering away, don't want to hear it, just want to kiss. She must be sincere if she's this persistent. Okay, she's done talking. My turn to say yes. Honestly, whatever she'd have said, I'd have agreed. Really, no need to hold back. Good news, I get to see her once a week now. Bad news, it's not enough. But second rule of being a good guy, be reserved. Can't be too eager. Otherwise, once she gets me, she won't cherish me. Anxious, I want to sweet talk her, but all I can talk about is business. Wish I could find more issues so she'd have to stick around longer. Sandy's really smart, she's made tons of progress after just a few lessons. Great. Caught her. She's giving classes at my company. Why doesn't she come to me for her queries? Mad. Why let others take up our time together? Recently hit a dilemma. People say a good guy should be composed and supportive. Trust your girl and be her rock. But Sandy knows so many people, I'm a bit jealous. Forget it, not pretending. Switch to the husband's manual now. Gonna tie her down with looks and tears. Planning a proposal and a little bit of cutesy act first. Won't change my possessiveness. A big woman should embrace this.